With the release of the new Italian skin in World of Tanks console, I decided why not feature this tier 10 Progetto 65, and of course this is covering with the new skin that we've got on the vehicle, actually probably one of the nicest of the new skins that they've released as part of the kind of nations pin-up style skins that they've released recently. I believe that this came out with, I think there was a batch of 3 of them, and yeah, this one being the most notable. Now the Progetto 65, of course, the Italian tier 10 medium auto reloader that is absolutely so much fun to play, and the grind leading up to the tank, so the tanks that you play before you get this one, are really good as well. So you get a good mix between this tier 10 medium and also not having to like sweat your socks off whilst playing all of the vehicles to have good games. We're actually playing on one of my favoured maps within World of Tanks, which is Redshire. Kind of offers a little bit of everything. Obviously you guys know that if you've been watching the channel, that this is one of the maps I usually prefer, because you know you do have that opportunity to move around. You get a lot of opportunity to play as a heavy, a tank destroyer, a medium or a light tank, whatever you're playing. This map kind of offers that. And that's what's really cool. I think we've got 2 gameplays that we're going to showcase in today's video. The first one obviously on this one, and then we've got a next one which showcases a little bit of something different, which is always nice. And hopefully the replays and gameplays and tank reviews that we do on the channel give a little bit of diversity. They're not always the highest damage games that we have in a certain tank, but yeah, certainly interesting to use. But you're seeing here up against the Waffle E100, haven't had that many opportunities to actually push out some damage, so we're going to use all 4 of the shells. Of course, when you do that, you suffer your DPM when you do it, but we're not having that much opportunity to put out our shells anyway, so there's no point in holding them if you're not going to use them, since we'll just be sat there on all of the shells remaining in the magazine or the clip, and so we'll just keep them there. And I decided, after not really getting much action over on this side, we decided that maybe it's time to try and find some of these Centurion AVREs that are in the game, since there's a ton of them and a surprising amount, as well as having FE4005s and their kin within the game. So there's a lot of derp guns within this one, so you definitely don't want to be getting hit by any of them, especially when you have the armour of the Progetto 65. There's not particularly that much. Now we go for the RNG shot on the back chat, and it actually hits him, and then we of course go for the tracking shot on the first one. I don't manage to get another tracking shot, which is always nice. You should always go for that. But you know, with most autoloaders you'd be kind of salty that you didn't get off all of your rounds, but with this one it's actually not the worst thing in the world, unless you know you really needed to actually hit that tank to remove him from the game. It doesn't really matter. Now here we're trying to find that weak point of the Centurion, which is the lower plate. You can see me penning it here. As it's kind of angled up, we're easily hitting the underside and allowing us to get some extra damage. And of course, if you don't already know, I feel like the Centurion AVRE doesn't get enough attention in terms of its weak points, because it can be a pain to actually pen, but the upper plate is also a weak point. I've been trying to highlight it in all of my recent videos. You know, you can pen the upper plate through that little where you've got the plough. Just above that there's like a little bar. In between the bar and the plough you can pen, because it's just literally a Centurion in one hole, so it's really easy to pen when you do actually manage to get one round through. It is kind of difficult to snipe it from range, but it can be done. So you just want to aim for the upper proportion of the tank to be able to pen. So it's one of those that once you figure out how to actually shoot it, it is really easy to pen actually, and if you can take advantage of that, then yeah, it's really nice. But it does kind of have that idiot proof armour that allows anyone to just sit frontally and bounce a few rounds when RNG goes in their favour, or alternatively, you know, you don't end up hitting that lower plate. So now that that guy's out of the game, opens up our opportunity to actually go forward and try and find this other Centurion. Now I was thinking, you know what, that's out in the middle of the open. Obviously I'm going to be able to spot them, but apparently not. I was really surprised when I couldn't manage to spot the Centurion. Obviously I didn't want to get spotted by him, because if that happens I'm potentially going to get dirt from the back of the map where the FE4005s are going to be, probably over on their hill area. But you know, we're just waiting to see what happens in the game. Don't want to push in too far, and especially once we've done 4,000 damage and we've literally not even taken a hit yet. So really nice play in terms of avoiding taking any damage, and of course that allows us to play a little bit like more aggressive in the later stages of the battle. Now I'm thinking, oh, the RTD's going in, maybe he'll spot something, so might as well come up a little bit closer. We go a little bit further back, I don't want to get spotted, and we do actually get spotted in the end anyway. Of course we bounce around there, which is kind of lucky, and it appears like it's the bat chat at the back of the map that we left on basically no hit points. And of course it is. We do manage to luckily hit him, and he does take another round from the VKP on our team, which is nice, but you know, not the best result that you'd probably be hoping for. You want to get rid of the bat chat, since leaving an autoloader like that could be really dangerous. So yeah, just waiting around now to see what else happens in the game. You can see the Iron Rain on the enemy team pushing up, so we put one into him. Might as well finish him off, get one of the autoloaders out the game. That can be a real pain in the backside, especially if it just finds you or manages to get into a spot to unload all 3 of its rounds. It's going to be not very nice for you. But yeah, either way, you know, we're in that situation where we've fully unloaded and the damage per minute goes through the floor, and essentially is just awful. So, you know, you've got 2 options. You either try and remove some of these tanks out of the game when they're low hit points, or you try and save that damage per minute and hope that they're going to get spotted later on and you can deal with them, or that your team are going to be able to deal with them whilst you're reloading. It's kind of one of those things where, you know, you've just got to make the decision as to what you think is best. Now, facing an IS-4 when he's got hold down is not particularly something I'm too keen on doing, so I don't bother doing it, and especially when we are reloading like this. So we've managed to do all 3 rounds. We've got another one loaded, or loading up, and hopefully we can get that one back into the clip, and there you go. Now we're fully loaded, should be able to kind of push and at least get some damage. Now I'm thinking with the Chieftain Mark 6 pushing up, I want to get a bit closer, since I want to help out this TD who's at the back. Maybe we can get some shells and damage on him. Of course we are looking at trying to win the game, because you know they have to push, and in doing so, you know, they're going to have to expose themselves like the Centurion or the Chieftain even, and yeah, hopefully we can deal some damage to him. And we go over the ridgeline, and oh look, yay, one of the most balanced tanks in the game, finding our rear end, and of course high rolling for 1500 damage, sending us back to the garage. And unfortunately 6000 damage is the only damage we're going to be dealing in this game, having received just 2 hits. But I guess that's what it's like when you have Chieftains and Centurions in your game, especially the AVRE kind. But might as well skip ahead to the post-game stats, so we can see obviously we won not by actually dealing damage, but by just outliving the opponents. And yes, finally did manage to win in the end. Victory screen, of course, coming top with 6038 damage, 1019 base experience. Not the best way to win in a game, but you know, you have to take what you take, and 700 assist as well. Not particularly a great game in terms of XP, maybe because we won by not actually dealing all of the damage to the opponents, but either way, I will take it. Then the next map that we do have is, of course, Teatval Ridge, and Teatval Ridge is a map that is kind of cool. I like this map. I think it's a good one. Gives you a little bit of opportunity to move around and also spot for your team, especially when playing a medium like this. You can see at the beginning of the game we are trying to push the hill area. It is, of course, the weird game mode that is team destruction. No cap circles at all in this game mode, which is kind of nice. But you do have to be a little bit careful. The spawns are usually split half and half on this map, so you've got the opportunity to, you know, face up against a lot of the tanks that are kind of matched up against where your tanks are. One good position that you can take early on is here, but you have to be aware that the campers on the enemy team's hill in J9 and K9 and H9, I guess, can quite easily get shots on you, and of course when the accuracy on console is so good, they can quite reliably hit you, so you have to be a little bit careful. Things with good turrets usually do really well on this ridgeline. The Projecto 65 probably not so much, but it is still a brilliant tank either way, because It just has the troll armor that is the upper plate, which actually is surprisingly bouncy for a medium tank, and also having that devastating 4-shot autoloader that is just really nice to be able to clip someone out for the full amount of damage, whilst also then being able to have really good DPM if you just save your shell or whatever you might want to do. Now you're seeing here being able to hit the Action X on the enemy team. I was trying to get off all shells and I was trying to retrack this guy, but unfortunately we don't manage to do that, which kind of sucks, because when you do get the full clip of damage, obviously securing that damage is nice, and sometimes it's worth taking the damage per minute cut that you might have. Now the E75 here out in the open, going to quite easily get a few shells into him. He doesn't seem to be realising that he's getting clipped by an autoloader, but we're not going to tell him that. But either way, we're up to 2,000 damage combined here, which is nice. Of course, if you're going for marks of excellence, you're probably looking in the region of getting like 4,500 combined damage every single game. If you want to get your third mark, I would assume somewhere in that region. Obviously, you'd have to check it on something like tomato.gg or something like that, or what stars, or there's tons of what console marks calculators that give you a rough percentage of or how much damage you would need to do. You literally just type into Google what are the mark requirements on what console, and then you can usually find a tank using like a filter system sort of thing. But yeah, I would probably guess in the region of about 4,500 combined damage will get you up on your marks at 95%, of course. But you're going to need those like 7k damage games or 8k damage combined games, or maybe even more, to really go up on your marks of excellence in this thing. Getting 4.5 is probably just what's going to keep you at the same level. So yeah, quite a difficult one to mark, especially considering that you've got to play it quite well in terms of like being able to consistently get damage using that, either firing all of your shells and hoping that you can reload and that you aren't going to be able to get any more shells of damage in that game, or just hoping you know, you can use it as a single shot for an extended period of time where you can use that damage per minute. Now that doesn't always happen, and often you are kind of forced to fire all your shells, and it kind of limits the tank in that regards. But the tank is still really, really good in the game, and I think that it is one of a very strong tier 10 medium. I don't think it's the strongest, and probably isn't top 3, I would say, but it is very, very nice to play, and it offers you something different that you don't usually get with a lot of the tanks. I mean, I guess the closest comparison at tier 10 would be the Skoda or the TVP T5051 even, which is somewhat similar, but the TVP doesn't get anywhere near the armor that this tank does, so it's kind of different in that regard, and it also doesn't get the ability to auto reload, so you know, you can actually reload shells after you've fired one, whereas this TVP you have to fire all of them, albeit much faster intricate reload than this, but still, yeah, it's definitely a different one, and I think everyone should try and get the Progetto at some point. Whether it's a crucial thing to get instantly, I think it usually is more preferred for experienced players than a brand new player in World of Tanks, so I would never really go, yeah, a new player needs to get this tank, because it's a little bit more difficult to play. Not to say it's difficult to play, it just takes a little bit more thought, and obviously knowing about all of the different mechanics in the game are going to really help you. So you can see here, just trying to go for that track damage on the Conqueror. Unfortunately, don't manage to actually track him, but we still pick up 2,900 damage here so far, and you know, it's been a pretty slow game, and this tank can definitely do that. Now we get hit by the T110E4 that was at the back, and that's what I was talking about from the JK at 8 line that I was saying about, or 9 line, which just kind of sucks, but you know, sometimes it's just the way. We've got a Centurion AVRE, which is not a fun tank to get YOLO'd by, and you're seeing me think, I'm not entirely sure that I'm going to win this game, so I was thinking maybe we could try and avoid taking any damage. Now the Skoda T50 on the enemy team is of course coming in quite hard. Whether or not he's using the autoloader, I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know why I decided to ram him. Guess I thought, I don't even know, it was a bad play. I should have just actually fired all my shells and we would have been able to finish him off. But yeah, I guess that that shows that, you know, you can get assistance, you can get damage, but if you wanted to be more consistent, you'd probably want to be using it in the single shot for the majority of time, and then when you find yourself in a position where maybe the game's really slow and you find an opponent out in the open that you can double track or triple track or just keep locked in place and keep farming their hit points, then you'd probably want to fire all of these shells. But other than that, the Progetto 65 is definitely an interesting one, one I really enjoyed playing. And of course, let me know in the comment section down below what you think of this Italian, as well as the new skin that they've released. Do you think it's worth actually picking up? I believe it's 3,000 gold if you do want it. But yeah, definitely an interesting one. Either way, hopefully you did enjoy this video, and of course check out the previous video yesterday on the brand new Cold War vehicle that is really interesting. So yeah, definitely a thumbs up from me. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video hopefully, and I hope you have a brilliant rest of the week. Goodbye.